What is up, everybody? CP and SJ with you for another week of Every Day We're Covering, where we talk the world of sports, wagering, and having a good time as we roll on through the early summer portion of the calendar. We're still in the NBA and NHL finals right now. College World Series is right around the corner. We're getting the teams set for that as we speak. Women's College World Series just wrapped up, so it is still a busy time as far as a sports calendar if you're somebody that follows everything. But as far as some of the major sports, okay, there's a little bit of a lull or getting close to that lull, especially after the finals are done for NBA and NHL. We'll have that kind of dog days of summer before we get back after it. But still plenty to talk about. We've got, of course, those finals to touch on, some other news that's come out in the college front, and some other happenings and some other events here recently as well. There is one little note on a horse race I wanted to bring up also. SJ, how you doing over there? You plowing through the early part of the summer here? Kids enjoying it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I haven't heard too many complaints of you miss those days of the long nights and the late mornings.
Yeah.
You kind of throw back there and you think in your head, like, man, how the hell did I ever sleep? I'm like, if I could sleep till like 7:30, 8 o'clock, I'm like, this is amazing. Like sleep until like 10:30, 11. I remember sleeping until like noon. You're like, what the hell? What a waste of time. What a waste of life. But when you're that age, I guess it seems like a good idea. But yeah, we're all doing good here. Looks like kind of hitting the stride in summer. It's I don't know, I guess always felt to me once you hit that, because I'm now speaking of when you're younger, you're like, I don't want the summer to go fast or whatever. But ever since, you kind of get typical, routine, work life and all that stuff. I'm always like, I'm just gonna hit July 4th, and then we're kind of back on the downslide, and we're getting back to the sports, the good time of, with, basketball football starting up again. You get a little overlap with baseball, and then, even basketball's not that far off from then starting. So I guess I'm kind of looking forward to hit that. That's my, when it's a little bit of a downtime here when it comes to the sports that are our favorite. We like them all, but of the ones we really prefer, I just got to hit that July 4th milestone, set up a couple M80s, and then we're we're good to go there, and we're back on track.
Yeah, keep all the appendages intact, and then we're good to go. So it is always an interesting time of year. I do enjoy, I guess, personally, kind of the just change of pace in life, a little bit. I mean, you still got all kinds of shit going on, especially if you've got kids like you do at that age too, where they're involved in ball of all sorts. You're playing those games all the freaking time, it seems like. But, you get some time here and there where it's just, you get the longer, of course, sunshine, so the days feel a little bit longer. You feel like you have a little bit more time for your free time type stuff. So it's always good. And, of course, getting outside and doing those things that we love is a good side effect of it, too.
That's almost like a tough thing for in the summer, at least I think, is it's nice out. You're spending outside. Maybe the sun doesn't go. You don't totally lose daylight till after 9 o'clock in some place, even closer to 10 some nights. Sometime and you're like, it's Tuesday, Wednesday night. I gotta work tomorrow. That, I hate that curveball, because it's like when you go to I was talking to a guy at work. It's like when you go to a weeknight baseball game or whatever, you're like, you lose all. It's almost like being in a casino or whatever. You lose all track of time, distance, and space. You're like, I'm just having, time of my life. You get that mental, and it's a good thing because you're enjoying it, and you're like, nothing else matters. You're like kind of locked into that moment. So I guess it's a positive too, but also when that reality hits of, damn, I got to work in the morning. That's a hell of a gut punch.
It is, yeah. The reality sometimes is not much fun on the come down. That's for sure. And I don't know about you, but this is also something. I don't want to get too, I guess, carried away on the time continuum, but this is a problem I have, and I don't know how to exactly work on it, but I'm trying to get there. You get in those seasons of life where you do have like a busy time, like, right now my sons and daughter are both in baseball and softball, so it seems like almost, damn near 4 nights a week at least you're out at a ball game of some sort. And that just kind of consumes everything, you do. You're planning for it. You're there, and then you go home, you try to sneak in dinner and go to bed. But I have a problem sometimes of just kind of like losing track of everything else that's going on in the world. It's like I have other important things I need to pay attention to too, or at least want to pay attention to. And as a sports fan, that's also a problem sometimes, because it's like, oh, shit, I forgot whatever's going on. I didn't even pay attention with what the hell the score. What was it? Who played last night? So it's hard to always get in the right mindset of, I guess, at least paying attention to what else is going on in the world. On one side, it's a good thing because you're kind of just absorbed in the everyday life and having fun with it. But on the other, it's like, I still got to, pay attention to my other responsibilities at the same time.
Yeah, I would say, it's a good thing you have your priorities straight, but at the same time, it is. There's only so much time. Even what you want to, have everything in your library on your, or DVR or whatever. It doesn't. You still got to find time to watch it.
Yeah.
And if you plan to sleep, that's not going to happen. So that makes it a little tricky, I guess. I've had a few, probably, didn't make the best choice. Like it was a Big Ten, one of the Big Ten tournament games ended up for Nebraska got pushed back, ended up starting like at 11. And I was like, screw it, I'm just going to stay up and watch it. I think I made it to bed about 2 or 3, after 2 that night and up at 6:30. That wasn't the best idea, but I was like, well, sometimes you just got to bite the bullet if I want to not miss this. So that can definitely relate to that. There's a prime example right there. But it's if there's a way to, extend the day, that would be great.
Yeah.
If that ever comes about.
Yeah. It's every time of year is a little bit different, but I always find myself struggling with when the busy times like that. But as we get rolling here and we get into the sports talk momentarily, we do like to talk about, of course, what we're fueling us when we do have some of that downtime at home to enjoy an adult beverage or two. I'll get mine out of the way here because I don't think it's as exciting as yours, SJ. But I had to go out and put the test on when I talked to last week about my neighbor, showing me his Lyme flight. So I was like, I gotta test this theory. So I did go out and get the flight, and I've got some fresh cut limes right in front of me right now. And of course, I help a guy out mow a few yards on the weekend too, so always perfect to have a nice, refreshing beer after that's all said and done. And this is nice. Drop the lime in there, squeeze a little bit. It's a perfect accompaniment. Like I said, every light beer probably can stand to have some lime in it and still be good, especially if you like it to begin with. But this does seem to pair really well. So it's on the summer continuum menu, that's for sure. I like it, enjoy it. So I could see it being good with maybe a lemon in there too. But lime seems to be the typical way to go. SJ, what do you got to tell us about over there?
Well, first off, that kind of beckons to the days gone by of mine's maybe like a headlight. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of like the first soiree into lime, at least for me, because I used to be anti-lime, and then when it comes with something, you're like, I got to at least try it like that.
Yeah.
And of course, as you get older, it's like, oh, that's good in the beer, and kind of like it. But or the flight, one of them's hanging around one fridge somewhere. It's too good. And I think there's a couple other places I was talking to someone about. That's the mix, just when you have just a few options, kind of that just puts you that much higher up, because I'm just like, they know what they're doing. There's no reason to switch it up. But I switched it up here a little bit, kind of, not exactly. Went back on the sour train here, so that's not too out of the ordinary. But found a new one from Third Wheel Brewing, which is out of St. Peters, Missouri, kind of St. Louis area, essentially, like northwest part of that metropolitan area. But it was here locally in KC, but they had what's called Free the Sun is their sour beer, but essentially it's like, I guess, their celebration of the daylight savings time. So whenever it returns, I guess they bring it back out, and it's like a seasonal deal. But like I said, creamsicle thing, so it's orange, vanilla, and I guess maybe when it comes to the technical side, I'm probably not as in tune as maybe I should be when you're ingesting these things, but I don't remember many, at least being kind of out there as one of the main ingredients of using lactose. I don't know if that's I'm sure obviously it's not uncommon, but the fact that it's like, this is, orange, vanilla, and lactose, it's not usually like the third thing on the list, but I'm sure, obviously it's common just as like one of the main ingredients, but I was like, oh, that kind of, just the, the flavors caught my eye, and then I was like, I've made it a little bit so it wasn't, because that punch at the end that you get sometimes, I think, does turn people off on the sour.
Yeah,
it wasn't quite there, but it still kind of had that, tartness to it, but it wasn't so, maybe balanced it out, I guess, is a good way to put it. So that's probably maybe one of your, if you're unsure, maybe this would be somewhere to kind of dip your toes in a little bit.
Interesting. Yeah, that sounds like a definitely a unique beer for sure. I know there's oftentimes been lactose involved when you're talking about some of those stouts. Like the left hand milk stout. That's famous.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's you think of that, I guess, more in those realms rather than in a sour. So yeah, that's for sure a little bit different. So interesting. Good stuff. By the way, you made the little note there, the headlight. Shout out Thunderhead Brewing Company, Kearney, Nebraska. So give them a little love. They're still holding strong, doing their thing. I know they've tried to branch out a few different things. I don't know that they necessarily caught on, but they're still kicking there in Kearney. So shout out to them. The things we wanted to dive into here today. We're going to start with just the traditional, like we did last time, with what's actually been happening, and actually some really good stuff to note, because I think the competition has been very good so far in both the NBA Finals and the NHL Finals. Maybe in the hockey a little bit more than the basketball, but we'll start with the basketball. Because it was a pretty wild game the other night that just happened. Knicks had a lead for a long time. Spurs come roaring back, get the advantage. The and one situation. Wemby gets the free throw, and it looks like they're going to be able to pull it off. Especially when you got the home crowd behind you like that, and you made the comeback. But then Brunson hits a very nice step back, and then. We were all wondering what was going through Victor Wembanyama's mind when he was trying to pass the ball up the floor to Stephon Castle, because he wasn't looking for it. And I don't know, even if he was necessarily, like, how much floor he thought he had to do something with it, because he was pretty close to the sideline, even if he's looking that direction. Just a very odd play. Brunson was there to sniff it out, got the ball, got fouled, and of course changed the outcome of the game. They get the free throws, and they ended up winning it. I know it's always hard, because when you're like a certain play like that gets just super magnified because of when it is and when it happened. But at the same time, it's crunch time. You got to make the right decisions. And for once, maybe we saw the young guy not make that right decision for once.
Yeah, that's easy to zero in on that one, like you said. But there was a hell of a comeback to even get within striking range, because New York really, they looked, for a lot of the game, of course, they had a double-digit lead, but it looked like they might just run them out of the gym. And I guess just as an overall thing, this is, unless you're like a diehard Knicks fan, and we talked about that fan base, and we'll get into that here in a second probably, but I'll put myself in there. I was saying they have a chance, but I would have been surprised if they would win it all. And to be up 2-0 on top of that there's no way. I'd be like, I maybe thought they could sneak. I was like, maybe you get the second when you sneak it out, but I figured the layoff in the first game might have been a little bit too much for them, and they would have kind of had a tough go of it. But that wasn't the case. They actually won game one more by a bigger spread than they did game two, oddly enough. So, but of course that was a contested game. But to game two in particular, it was very head scratching of what Wemby was doing there, because I understand that maybe you want to the old thing, like get it to a guard, and a big man has it, but how many times we see him bring it up the court? It's not anything out of the ordinary. It's not like he's not like a point center or nothing, but at the same time, he can handle it enough to bring it up. And I just think he got sped up in his head, because they had a good, which in life 10 seconds isn't a lot, but in basketball that's like as Bill Walton would say, that's an eternity.
Yeah.
So, it's just like you have plenty of time left. And look what happened there within that 10 seconds. You get, end up getting fouled, gets 2 free throws, misses one, and then you still have a chance, which he had a decent look at the hoop, and that could have easily been a San Antonio game winner. He had it wasn't off by much. So that's just, that's the kind of shows you how close it is from being, the hero and the GOAT. So that's just and GOAT in a bad way, not the good way.
Yeah.
The Billy, the bad GOAT, the one that eats your trash, that GOAT. So, but it's been a hell of a series. I know it's 2-0, but it's still like it's very easily could be 1-1 or 2-0 the other way. Because then the game one, Knicks had to rally and kind of they looked like they were at one point in big trouble. So it's been I know it's a lot of like celebrity laden, but at the same time, you get a lot of let's go Knicks chance going during that game, and that's not exactly like we talked about before. It's not just down the road.
Yeah.
And let alone getting finals tickets is expensive enough when you're like local, let alone your travel and everything involved in that. So that's it's just I know it's a big city like we talked about, a major market, but it's a little it's I mean it's more like a Buffalo Bills fan base than it is like a New York Yankees fan base. They're just kind of
Yeah.
a wild bunch, man. Like, and
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate. I kind of like that. Seems more like this is actually like a legit basketball fan, not some oh, I got money, I'm gonna go sit in the front row and just be there so I can be on camera type of thing. So
Yeah. I agree with you. They've always been, for a lot of people, I guess they've always kind of been annoying and been like,
yeah. Oh, that I mean that's definitely that. Yeah, I wouldn't argue with you there.
But yeah, at the same time, it's like one of those mutual respect type things too. Like you respect the dedication and, and I guess it's that line. It's that balanced line between, yes, I think they are a little bit more of an educated basketball fan, but at the same time, they're also kind of those New York assholes. So it's like they're
relatability.
They get ahead of those skis sometimes when they know what they're talking about. But it's interesting. It has been kind of cool. I've seen some stuff, with the city just kind of getting hyped and upped about it. They did a lot of stuff around town, like a lot of the metro stations. They repainted in Knicks colors and added the basketball to the lights and all those kinds of things, like little things in life. But yeah, they're certainly excited about it. And it was funny because I don't know what I was watching, but it was one of the, some talking head show. And they were, one of the guys was pointing out, there's a lot of fans for a lot of the other New York teams, like New York City teams, but he's like, really, the New York itself, he's like, it really is a Knicks town. Like, it really, like, a lot of people do love the Knicks as a whole. So, kind of, an interesting fan base, and they certainly, have shown that they can, put a few seats somewhere else and make some noise as well. And I guess that's the other thing that's really surprising about this result so far is not only are you up 2-0 in what we thought would be a very competitive series, but you're up 2-0 on the road. You know, I don't know that anybody saw that coming for sure. But it has been close. 105-95 was the final in the first game, and the game was closer than that. And then 105-104, of course, the final in that game on Friday night. So we'll see. We'll see what the Spurs have up their sleeves to try to counteract and see maybe they can. Maybe it'll be, you never know. Maybe it'll be a little bit more nervous being at home against with a fervent fan base like that. You kind of get a little that pressure's on you, maybe even a little bit more at home. So who knows how the Knicks will react.
Well, then even from the Spurs perspective, it's like it's desperation. You really can't afford to, especially going on the road. You have to get game 3, but you just can't. You don't really want to drop either of them. But you got to get this one before you can get the second one. So you don't want to be like, oh man, it's pressure's on them. But sometimes you might play better that way. So I guess you could look at either way. Well, whoever wins it, then you'll say, oh, that's you can say, oh, they just played but they definitely have to. It's kind of must win, especially in this game 3, because I mean if you go down 3-0, especially on the road, I mean all the Knicks have to do is get obviously one of the next 4, and 2 of them would be at home, so that'd be a bad spot. So I think Spurs will. And obviously it's easy to say, seems pretty obvious, but I definitely think I think it's going to be a pretty. I don't think they're going to roll over. At least put it that way. Like it'd be in some series you go down 2 and you're like, oh, that's it. I think we're gonna. I think we're still in for at least 6 probably. Is the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah. So 7:30 Monday night will be game 3 of that. There, the finals. Going over to the other side on the ice, the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. It is now the Vegas Golden Knights up 2-1 in that series, and that next game will be on Tuesday night at 7:00 there in Vegas to see how it stacks up from there. But it has been an absolutely wild series so far, and it's been a lot of fun. And it also has been according to what we thought. And I probably should have been playing along with my own advice a little bit more because, if you like goals, this has been the series for you. It's been nothing but goal scoring. Even the games where it looked like things were going to slow down a little bit. There was always an explosion at some point, and we've seen some really big turnarounds here in this series so far. Game one was just a good one, back and forth. Ended up being 5-4. The Knights getting the win there to steal one on the road to start the series, and then it got crazy after that. Let's just say that. It's just one of those series where like you can't give up on anything. I mean, even when you think that the game's out of hand and it's out of reach, and in most cases, in most games, it probably is true. But this series, for whatever reason, these two teams have got like some kind of spark that, the match ignites, and all of a sudden, boom, they're right back in the game. And we've seen that in the back-to-back games. One even more dramatic than the other. So if you were looking back on the game two, that was the 4-3 Carolina win there in overtime. So Vegas goes up 2-0, and then Carolina scores 3 in the third to go up 3-2. And you think, oh, wow, what a hell of a comeback, because they did it with only like 4 minutes left in the game. Well, Vegas still got one to send it to overtime. So we go to overtime, and then on the power play, they do get one. Jarvis knots one in there and gets the Carolina win 4-3 to tie the series up at 1-1. And then last night was just absolutely ridiculous. Like I almost turned this off because I was like, this ain't gonna get better. Vegas was on fire early in the game. They just seemed like they were doing everything right. They were controlling the puck, and they had an explosive second period. So they scored 4 goals in the second. 2 of them were within 15 seconds of each other to start the scoring. And then they get 2 more. So you're thinking, well, yeah, this is a rout, onslaught, especially when you're playing on the road. You never expect it to change there. Well, then Carolina gets one, 7:03 to go in the game, 7:03 in the third, so kind of almost midway through that third period. And then it was like when it rains, it pours scenario, because they score at the 7:03 mark, the 7:29 mark, and the 7:42 mark to get back within a goal at 4-3. Just like nothing you'll ever see again, I don't think, in a Stanley Cup final, to score that quickly on that many chances. And, the second one was kind of one of those where it was just like everybody was standing around and you almost didn't get back into the field of the play again, and they sneak one in, and it's like, whoa, shit, they surprised us. Well, then the third one, it was just like the effort wasn't really there. Like, they got a good look into the entry, and the guy got stopped on what would have been a good breakaway. And then the guy a skater coming up behind the play just kind of stayed with it and got it back into the middle. And then Stahl was able to have a look and snuck one back over the pad to get another goal. And then lo and behold, they do end up getting a power play goal with like less than 2 minutes left to go in the game to send it to overtime. And then it becomes a marathon fest in overtime. And ultimately, Theodore ends up cashing one in for Vegas in double OT. Just an absolutely awkward, strange goal to win the game. But they do ultimately pull it off. But, man, what a hell of a come back and forth. I mean, this has been great competition. If you love to see teams that have that never say die, that's what we've got going on in this series.
I mean, how often, of course, you see it with one team scoring all the goals in one period and another team maybe another, but how often is it 4 goals by one and then 4 goals by another, like in back-to-back periods too, and then they score, with, whatever in those stretches, like 2 in like less than 30 seconds or whatever, and then 3 in like, it's about the same amount of time. I guess if you've gone, as a fan, you probably Carolina be like, we should have just lost 4-0, because it'll just get your damn hopes up, and you're like, we can win this. And then Vegas, you're like, oh man, Vegas fans are like, man, we almost pissed that one away. Because kind of that would have been one that would have stuck with you for a long time. But as a series, you got 1 goal games every game, two an overtime and then a double overtime. Can't really ask for much more than that as far as like competitive level. Of course, I'm sure there's been some nitpicky things you could get. Being like, this is off, like, some of the effort plays, that's probably what allowed Carolina to get back in it. But you got to keep playing. That's there's it's a 60-minute game. You can't just pack it in because you're up 4-0. So yeah, that was wild just to see that. And I can't imagine it's going to trend any way different. There's seems like it's a at least style matchup, and these teams kind of just maybe kind of play that way when they face each other.
Yeah, it's interesting. I multiple times during the breaks there, Subban and Messier were kind of talking about the what implications of what this series is going to mean at the end of it, and Subban was like, up to this point, I don't know that you can argue that this isn't the best finals that's ever been played, and I don't think he's wrong. Like, I mean, yeah, I suppose there's probably some, just like any sport, some purists that love the defensive side of it more than the offensive side of it. But man, it's been great effort from both teams, and I just love to see that never say die type of mentality. You usually do see it in the Stanley Cup Finals, but it just seems to be an extra level of intensity to it with these two squads. I will admit I'm dozing in and out, trying to stay up to watch to see who wins this damn thing in the end, and I'm telling my son, because he's like, oh, I think it's going to be triple overtime. And I was like, somebody please score. Somebody please score. I want this to be over. And then the goal that wins it, though, is just like so anticlimactic. It was such like, oh, man, you feel so bad for him because it bounces off of the inboard, comes back, and Bussy, who had come in at goal, he had moved so far out left to try to like stay in the path. It ends up coming back behind him and hits his skate as he brings his foot back underneath him and then kicks across and goes in. And it's just like, it absolute, like, normally a horseshit goal is what you'd say, like it's just not per pure luck pretty much. But that's the way it goes sometimes in hockey. They always say, get the puck close to the net and you never know what's going to happen. And ultimately Vegas did get bailed out a little bit with that one. But yeah, it's setting up for a hell of a finish still. I think we're going to get this one that goes hopefully to the distance because these have been great games. And yeah, if you're looking to keep playing the odds, I mean, the overs have been great here so far, and I think that's probably going to continue to happen. You might get an odd one in there at some point, but I think the consistent theme here is these guys are explosive at time to time, and they can score in bunches, and that's what we're seeing here between these two squads. So, been a lot of fun.
Yeah, as the next game goes 1-0.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah.
No. I mean, it's obviously not impossible, but that's the if you're going for that route, just gotta stick to your guns and kind of find where you like that puck line to be, and just keep on that. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You got to kind of find what you like and stick with it, because there is obviously always going to be a variance, but I can't imagine it being that low a scoring game. Maybe a 3-2 type of thing, but there's just so much offense on both sides, and just like I said, the style and the kind of this is very subjective and objective, of course, but it just seems like the pace is really kind of moving in this series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not wrong. It definitely has been. There's been times where you can tell that one team or the other, kind of once they get that little bit of juice going behind them, the tempo picks up big time, and it has been a lot of fun to see them skate up and down the ice. So that's what's going on there in the NBA NHL Finals. We'll continue to follow those series, and hopefully we'll get some good stuff out of that. Recapping a couple of other things, Women's College World Series wrapped up. It was Texas defeating Texas Tech, sweeping them in that best-of-3 in the championship. A 4-1 victory in Game 2 that sealed it at the end of the day. The Red Raiders had an early 1-0 lead in the first inning, but then Texas rallied, take the lead, and held on. And held Texas Tech to just 4 hits for the rest of that contest. So that's how that finished. Of course, there was plenty of oddball controversy going on during the midst of that, too. Just a weird deal. But and at the end of the day, we had a winner, and it did end. The Men's College World Series is right around the corner, starting this upcoming next weekend. And we've got some of the field set, some of it yet to be decided here as those super regionals are being played here this weekend. We do have a team, actually a couple of teams, from what I understand, that are in their first ever College World Series, which is always cool. You get to see new squads. It's one of those things where it's almost always hard to believe when you how many years have we been playing this, and we still got new teams that never played in this thing before. But one of them is, of course, one of the old college football favorites from back in the day. Really, they were kind of the early, mid-major upset type team, and that's Troy, the old Troy Trojans. They are in the College World Series when defeating Little Rock. So whoever won that one was going to be an interesting admittance into the tournament. But they will take on West Virginia, who's another team that hasn't been there. So West Virginia getting there by beating Cal Poly. Of course, Cal Poly was in the regional that knocked out UCLA, the number 1 overall seed. So their Cinderella run kind of ends there at that point. But 2 teams, I'm sure, there that'll get a lot of probably local support because of the underdog type status for them. And then on the bottom of the bracket, you've got North Carolina, Southern Cal that are still deciding that series. And then Ole Miss was a winner over Auburn in the Super Regional with a 2-game sweep. So Ole Miss is in. And then on the other side, still waiting to see with games that are happening. You've got Kansas that was taking on Oklahoma. Right now, Oklahoma has a big lead in the bottom of the third of that game, so it's looking like it's trending towards the Sooners there. I'm sure for locality's sake, for the Omaha Commerce sake, they're probably hoping that Kansas makes a rally and gets into the College World Series. I'm sure they would bring a decent crowd there. But it looks like Oklahoma's leading there. St. John's, Alabama, they are playing as well to try to decide who gets in, and that's an Alabama lead in the top of the 8th as we speak at 7-2. So it looks like Crimson Tide have a stranglehold on being able to get in on that side of the bracket. And then you've also got Texas, Oregon, and then Mississippi State and Georgia with their games happening right now. So we've got... looks like actually they're going to be, so I think there'll be another one there, if I'm not mistaken, there between Georgia and Mississippi State. Georgia knocked them off 11-9. And then, not sure. Yeah, there's 3 of them that are happening right now. So Texas, Oregon is happening now. Texas up 4-1 in the top of the third there. So kind of dependent on when they started. Some of those are ending now, some end tomorrow. So we'll know that full field, and then they'll get after it. And we'll find out who ends up winning the old men's tournament. But always a good affair there in Omaha. Of course, turns into a good party atmosphere, and the city does well supporting it. You know, lots of course, vendors that show up and those types of things, fan experience things. So that'll be cool. And nice to have some new faces, I guess, in the field.
Yeah, the Jello shot challenge is upon us. That's that's what we all really care about. But I mean, you mentioned kind of the business side. Yeah, you definitely want, and I think you got some of some of these teams that not necessarily the regulars, but that should travel well. But as far as someone that at least tries to go to a game or the weekend, check it out a little bit. I kind of like when there's some new fresh blood in there. It just gives you a little bit of a different kind of perspective than LSU being there every year. I know that's people like them and they'll come up there, but I kind of like when it's different people. I don't want to hear the same story or the same chants or that damn guy whistling all the time from Vanderbilt. So we don't getting some new blood. I think that's kind of good. So at least it doesn't have to be like totally like out of left field like the whatever Cal Poly would have made it or something like that. But just somebody that's a little bit different, not the same 8 teams every year. To me, that gets a little boring. I guess if you're a fan of one of those teams, you probably think different. But if not, the variety, I think, makes it a little more interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and for the casual, certainly the casual fan or, somebody that's just kind of going and checking it out year to year, that's always cool to see some new faces, get some new fan bases in there and, see how they interact and enjoy. And, I guess it's the other side of it, too, is like sometimes you get some of these teams that have been there year after year.
They don't show up.
Yeah, they don't show up because they're just used to it. Like, and it's not a new cool thing anymore, so to speak. So,
or maybe they're like, because it goes, they're assuming if it's a top rated team that's there often, we'll go to wait till they get through the first whatever round, couple games and get to the more towards the championship weekend because that's I mentioned it a few times, but that's always something that boggles my mind is that kind of that extended of a stay has got to be wild for the people that end up making it to the finals or winning it all, even towards the last few matchups there, over a week in one place. I mean, that's pretty wild financially, let alone just giving up that commitment.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, for sure. Doesn't compare
I don't
to.
blame them for waiting. I don't blame them for waiting if they think they're going to be there. Yeah,
exactly.
So,
Yeah, it's almost like you got to pick one or the other. Like, like go early and have fun, or you come back and hope they do.
probably
well,
pick the early because you're just setting yourself up for a gut.
Disappointment,
Can you imagine spending all that money to go to a championship or something, then you lose and you're like, I guess that was fun.
Yep, that would suck. That would definitely suck. So that is, what's going on there on that front. We'll know that full field by the end of tomorrow. So we'll, of course, maybe even be able to talk a little bit more about that as it gets underway there next week. We've got also coming up here, or actually just finished up this past weekend. I did want to mention, I thought this was interesting, and I'm sure a lot of people in the horse racing field thought this was interesting. The Kentucky Derby winner, Golden Tempo, did win the Belmont Stakes here over the weekend. So he did end up winning 2 of the 3 out of the Triple Crown. Of course, did not run in the Preakness Stakes. So there's that, what if in the back of our minds if he had an opportunity to possibly be a Triple Crown winning horse. It is a little bit, there's always a little bit of a caveat too, because you just never know who's going to race in what race, how big the fields are going to be. They get much smaller usually by the time we get to the Belmont, and it was a much smaller field that he had to contend with. But still, very impressive. A time of 2:03.49. He won by a 1 1/4 length margin. He was the winner there, and it was Commandment who ended up at second, Renegade in third, Chief Wallaby in fourth there, if you were looking at the full field there. So $14 to win there for Golden Tempo on the $2 ticket, $7.32 to place, $3.88 to show. The exacta paid $55.67 and the trifecta at $51.32. So not big money off of that one for sure, especially when you get those smaller fields. And then of course you had some pretty odds-on favorites that did do what they were supposed to in that race. So not near as exciting sometimes when you get to those, but still cool. I thought it was interesting as soon as I saw that. It's like, oh man, now we'll always wonder, we'll always think.
Like the what if is what's kind of hanging over everything, but that's just I guess kind of something that they'll have to live with that deal. So I mean, it's man, this makes you. I mean, it had to been, of course, can't there's so much money involved, and it's like they're wanting to win everything. So, but it does, like, to get really inside that and know like exactly what went to the decision would be kind of the interesting part of it to me, because of course there's good stuff put out there and whatever said publicly, but what actually happened or didn't happen, that's kind of what I'd like to know, because man, to leave all that on the table when not that long after goes and wins another race makes you think that maybe there was a decent chance. So I guess that's kind of the intrigue that this is going to be hanging over this storyline for this season.
Yeah. So the couple of other updates on stories that I did want to bring up here on the college front here. We had one other thing we wanted to touch on as far as a scheduling thing, but these are just kind of little follow-up nuggets that I noticed here as I was reading through some stuff. The official appeal, by the way, for Texas Tech's Brendan Sorsby was denied by the NCAA, so it's like their last recourse with the NCAA, so to speak. He does still have a lawsuit out there, so that's the other thing that needs to be decided. But as far as the NCAA's ruling goes, what we thought was going to happen did happen, and they have denied that eligibility. So that's where that stands. There was a note, interestingly, recently, too. Of course, we've had lots of talks from lots of different individuals here within the last week, because there's been testimony up on Capitol Hill with this Cruz-Cantwell bill that's been proposed to try to, what they call save college sports, I guess is what the bill is called.
Well, that's where we're leaving it up to. Why didn't we think of this sooner?
Hey, who didn't tell these guys that they needed to do this sooner? Unbelievable. Well, and what's funny too is I heard this from somebody talking about the situation too, is like, it becomes kind of a comedy show, because then you get guys up there that start talking about things that they really don't know anything about, and they start explaining like, things that are incorrect, or they're mispronounced names of teams, or those kinds of things. It's just like, oh my God, this is what we're letting a bunch of people that don't really know be the ones that decide what we have to do here, because everybody else couldn't get their shit together. It's just like,
brings up, I believe it was the Dan Patrick Show used to run this quite a bit, but when one of the Kennedys, I think it was Ted, was introducing Mark McGuire and Sammy Souser. And and I believe he said Mike McGuire and
Mike
Sammy
McGuire.
Souser.
Yeah, he did. You're right. I remember that. Yeah, Mike McGuire.
It's like one of those instances where it's like, I mean, I understand that, not necessarily with that. That was like, I don't even know what they were doing, some PR BS, just to kind of glad hand or whatever. But there is like, of course, with this thing, I guess maybe there is some legislation needed, because of the NCAA's inability to like set their own guidelines. But there's also way more important things that should be kind of front and center instead of this. And if you're going to do this, at least, form some kind of committee with people that have experience in this realm somehow, some way, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe act like you know what you're doing for once would be kind of nice, just because it's already kind of a laughable situation, where it's at now, and then this just kind of makes it even worse.
Yeah, it pretty crazy stuff. But as that's been going on, we have had some interesting notes that have come out. One of the guys, of course, that they've been put up there, and it's somehow has become one of the spokesmen of, I guess, what's supposed to be right in college ball is Nick Saban. And we all know that, he was one of the original founders of finding ways to get players' money under the rug. I mean, there's no questioning that. Whether or not he wants to tell you that he was at the forefront of that is whatever, but he knew it was going on at his place. Let's just say that. But he did talk about one of the things I saw that he did bring up that was, and he's not this he's not wrong on. He was just kind of pointing out the scale of where it was going. Like, hey, the first year the NIL became a thing, this is how much money they said that I had. And then the next year it went to this, and it was like double, and then the next year it was this, and he's like, now you've got teams that are talking, 40 million roster kind of thing situation. And just kind of pointing out the fact that it is getting a little out of control, which is not wrong. But again, the source, for this to be the guy that says, you almost need a representative of a school that we know is disadvantaged. That's
like if
that
you had
would,
a mid-major,
yeah,
or a smaller, like even FCS or whatever type of thing.
Even like a Power 5 school that was lower on the totem pole. Like that would carry more merit.
Yeah, or even anything. I mean, I'm practically anybody that's not like a that has at least recently been a head coach at like a power school, because that's just, I mean, I guess that's the whole thing to me, is like that's why you've gotten to that point, is because it started and people got tired of being at such a disadvantage where there was enough people speaking up and saying, everybody needs to be able to do this if you're going to keep doing this.
Yeah,
because there was no way to overcome that advantage unless you got to do the same thing. And I mean, I guess you could have. I'm saying you could have, did the under the table things or whatever you want to call it, but I mean, there is still some schools. I know it's hard to believe that do have like kind of requirements that don't just allow you to do certain things that other schools can do. Like there is still some schools that have somewhat of an emphasis on academics still. Like not all of them, and probably more so than not that are like focused on football. Probably you could probably count on your hand, but there still is a few. So that's I guess there's that to it too. I don't know how many there are, but there's probably a few. So that's kind of throws that out the window. But I don't know. During the season, comes up once a week at least when we, our discussion of, it's problem, out of control, whatever. But man, you got to get to the solutions point at eventually. Like, we all know there's issues and not wrong, but unless you got some kind of, some mapped out here, just another old fart bitching to me.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. And the other thing I saw, and I may be speaking a little bit out of context, so I didn't dive deep into what was going on here, but there was a representative from the SEC that was also talking at this deal, and they kind of like wavered like at one point they were like, yeah, this is crazy that we're paying, and then the next moment later they're like, well, maybe we just have to branch out and do a thing between certain teams, and like they were waffling so bad between what the comments that they were making. It was just like, we're not getting anywhere here if we're just not going to be truthful. And then I did know, I saw a story here a couple of days ago, Greg Sankey making a comment that he feels like the Super League idea is not consistent with the truth, is what his quote was. Is like, we don't have an interest with doing something like that, with joining with Big Ten and breaking away, which is the common fear, and what's being brought up to push this a lot as well. Which, to your point from last time we talked, I think is partly true, just because they don't want to be in agreement with the Big Ten. So that's one thing. But at the other side, they're also not providing solutions here. Like like you just said, we got to get to something, and they immediately, of course, released a stupid, ridiculous statement the other day about how we don't agree with this bill. Oh yeah, we're shocked. You don't like this thing that doesn't give you more money and advantage like you always have had. Like it didn't provide real substance as to why, like how this could be better. So that was a very predictable thing to happen. But it seems like this thing's kind of stalled a little bit as far as the congressional side. Who knows if they're going to get anywhere fast enough and get enough people on board to actually pass something. Of course, we've got the midterms coming up here not too long around the corner, and that could very well change a lot of things on who's getting the support behind the bill. But yeah, I think you're right. At the end of the day, we all want a solution of some sort, and we got to get closer to getting there. And it seems like right now this is our most viable thing to happen. So I guess if it's going to be it, figure it out and get it done. Otherwise, everybody else needs to come to the table together and create a solution that's going to push us to the future without talking about this all the time. So that's what's going on that front. We did want to note real quick, too, here the CFP schedule is supposedly out there now, and it is listed out there now. That's
a solution we can be mad about, is to speak of that.
yeah. This is not ideal for anyone. Of course, this goes back into all the pissing matches between the NFL and the NCAA, and then also like trying to skirt around holidays and finals and all these things. They've really been trying to make this thing as bend over backwards for mostly the media partners for the most part, I think is what's really happening here. But so here's the schedule. I mean, the first round of the CFP is going to start on December 18th. Guess when the championship game is going to be played? January 25th. Yeah. almost a full month. Over a month later. Yeah, a month and a week later. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. I mean, and you brought this up when we were talking beforehand. Like, you think about the college football season, which in comparison to a lot of sports does seem kind of long, I guess, like it's a decent amount of time. But we're talking about another third of your season if you're in this thing to the end. Like, that's crazy. What are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, and then you go back to like when you actually started, like whatever your first day of preseason camp is, to that's like what you're looking at almost, if you start early August.
Yeah,
you're looking at 6 months of season there, and then you're supposed to be peaking at that time. That's when everything matters.
Yeah.
And you've been playing and I mean, there's no way you're gonna be at full strength, which that's part of the game. We get it, but it's still also, I mean, you want to take out all the extras and not have any, you want it to just like, if you lost because the team was better than you, or maybe you had a bad day, whatever. But to add all this extra stuff in there, it just seems kind of wild. I do like that when we get 4, kind of home sites again and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. The home sites are good, but I mean, football you can't play, once a week. That's probably about as much as you can push it, but can at least do that once a week would be, I mean, you do it all season, and there's some weeks where you play a Saturday and you might come back and play a Thursday or Friday. Yeah. But in this instance, you can't, so it just, I don't know. I almost would think it's almost like a deterrent to be off that long in between games when you get towards the end. I know it only affects a couple teams, but I don't know that you necessarily get your best. And you're playing at a non college football site in most cases. On top of that, so it's kind of there's just a lot of extra things that you're adding to the equation that don't really need to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with playing neutral site. That's good, and everything. But at least kind of keep everything else the same as much as you can would be ideal.
Yeah. Well,
and I just don't. I guess the schedule thing I understand, but other than that, like I don't know that anybody involved in this would be like, oh yeah, this is great. Coaches, players, anybody, like presidents, ads, other than like networks and like. It's basically they just have the say on when they want it to be on what channel and what time and what day.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not saying that obviously we all wanted more of these games. We wanted the expanded playoff. That's not the contention here. It's like, but how are we setting this up, and why are we waiting so long? Exactly. Like, if a week is good the rest of the season, why is a week not good now? I mean, we're going from December 18th, 19th until December 30th. I mean, I get it. There's a major holiday in between there, so that kind of screws that up. But
guess who's playing on that major holiday? Probably
the NFL.
So it's not like the NBA will be on there, NFL will be on there, some other things, and
that's true.
I mean, people are at home at least, or if anything, take advantage of that. People's probably off work and ability to travel. It's like you kind of have that window there, having that. Chance to do it, and you're playing in controlled environments for the most part at that point, so you don't have to worry about like your games getting affected by weather. So, and of course, if you're in Vegas, it wouldn't matter anyways, because I think that's where I believe that's where the championship is this year at Allegiant Stadium. I think so. But yeah, it's just I don't know, it's almost like you get what you want, but you can't have everything for some reason. Like I don't know, it has to be. It's kind of that thing where it's like if your team that you really care about and kind of invested in isn't in it, you're going to kind of forget and be like, oh, championship this week. Like, no, it's not till you got a whole nother week. Damn it. Like, kind of get lost. I mean, it's not and it's going to be Monday night at 8:00 kickoff, probably something like that too. So that's at least it's on the West Coast. Maybe that will help with the start time. But it's good. It's going to be the NCAA loves their Monday night championships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the first round, the 18th and 19th, and then you've got the quarterfinal games on December 30th and January 1st. The semifinals then not until January 14th and 15th. So that one is also what boggles my mind. Like, why the hell are we waiting 2 weeks, basically?
Yeah, what's wrong with January 8th? Is something wrong with that date? 8th and 9th? What's
I don't
not
give
good
a shit
enough?
what else is happening. Like, just play it. And then the national championship on the 25th Allegiant Stadium. They're saying 6:30 or 7:30 Eastern, so it'd be 6:30 Central. That is a little bit better for us.
There you go. There's a little ray of sunshine in this all this mess.
Yeah, I was trying to. Of course, I'd have to dive deeper into what those actual days are and the other part of it too, because that's the other thing that's going to suck. Some of these are going to be like goofy, random. I mean, the January 1st thing always works out. That's fine. Everybody's used to that. That's no big deal. And I guess it is on it's close to a weekend this year. Yeah, it's on it is a Friday is the 1st. So that's not terrible. But
yeah, it'll be, you agree with that. And then did you say 14th, 15th is the next one?
Yeah.
So that's Thursday, Friday. So at least you're kind of partial weekend. But and then of course you go to the next. I know Thursday night's not ideal.
Why can't we
I'll take a Friday night, but
I mean, I don't know. I don't know why this is so hard. Why is this so hard? Saturdays are college football. Sundays are NFL. It isn't hard. Figure it out. Stay on those days.
I mean, and I don't even hate the. When you get towards the end of the season, I'm okay with the, Thursday when they used to do that when college was kind of wrapped up and NFL would do Thursday, or even you throw a Friday night college game in there for like after dark. Like I like those. I like the, the Mountain West or the WAC playing on 10 o'clock when I get home after watching the local high school team. I like getting home and watching that late night on TV.
Like sure.
I'm good with that. But other than that, yeah, you're right. Like football, the whole thing is like about routine. Like, that's the point of the sport. Like, it's the only thing you practice. I don't even know what percent of it, but so much more than you even play. And then like the game, it's like, 3 to 5 seconds of action. And then it's just, it's all about just having that, process and being formulaic. But then when it comes to what means the most in this case, and if you want to win the whole, get the whole enchilada, you got to go through this process and then just screw everything up.
Yep.
It just, I mean, I guess that just shows you what these, I'm not saying don't take the money, but when the comments talk about 50 million each team's getting, this is what it really costs for them.
Yep.
So I mean, someone handed me that check, I'm taking it too, but I'd just be like, and so maybe it wouldn't bother me as much. I mean, we'll play whenever.
We're not benefiting, yeah.
Whenever you say 6 a.m. sounds good.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, crazy. So that's what we got going on that front. Obviously, more to come on how the whole situation plays out as the NIL world stuff. But that's the schedule we got for this year. And, what it becomes moving forward, we'll also find out as far as the CFP is concerned. All right, that's what we had on our docket here this week. We've got, of course, plenty more with the action that's still going on in the finals to talk about. World Series, College World Series will be full action next week there as well. Anything that you would like us to note or talk about, please hit us up. We're available to you on social media at Cherokee CP, at SJM Bets. Those are the Twitter handles, and we'd be happy to interact with you there or whatever you want to talk about. And then if you would like, subscribe, get the notifications on the podcast, available on all the major platforms, including our host here at Spotify. And if you would like, subscribe, get the notifications on the YouTube channel, where we will often put out picked videos for you there throughout the year, and of course very hot and heavy during the college football year. Then please do that as well, so you always know when we're dropping those picks down. It's going to wind it down here for this week. SJ, thanks again as always. Good times.
Yeah, it's summer is upon us. Keep those body sprays handy with this humidity has been going around, but still got a couple of good series here to finish up, and before you know it, we'll be back. College football will be here before we know it, so we're looking forward to that, and then. That College World Series too. That we'll get some. We'll do something maybe a little different, get a little interactive on that one. It's been a little tough here lately. We've been busy, but we'll get back on the routine for everyone following along.
Yeah. All right. Get those lawnmower beers on ice. That's SJ Munoz. I'm Chris Parks. Thanks for joining us for another week of Every Day We're Covering. We'll see you next time for some more covers.